If I'm not mistaken, this is the first major tour of Molllust after the band was formed in 2011. With this in mind, what are your feelings of this experience?
Oh, for us, it's a really, really great chance to show our music around Europe. We didn't know what to expect at the beginning, but we felt like that the people are pretty open-minded, that we met in all the places that we played until now. And so we really, really enjoy this chance.
Before going any further, I just have to ask this question. What is the meaning of the band name Molllust?
It's German and it consists of two words. Moll, with mich meine, and Lust, it's like passion, lust, so like the passion for our music. So it means something like the passion for music in minor tonality. And there is also a very similar word in German that is called Wollust, where this sounds similar. And this means like something like sexual desire. So it's for German speakers, it's like often that they miss her at first and think, oh, what's that? And then really get the real name, so it's easy for them to remember the name.
Yes. I see. So you refer to the band's music as opera metal. Can you briefly describe your own definition of this term?
When we tried to see the right genre, we found something like on Wikipedia or so as opera metal as a genre where you have symphonic metal with an operatic style of vocals. That's exactly what we are doing. We are mixing classical music and metal and have the operatic vocals with it.
I see. So the new Molllust album, has it been released yet?
Yes, it was released directly for this tour, so on the first tour date on 25th of September.
And it's called In Deep Waters, I believe, is that correct?
Yes.
And how does this title represent the album?
Oh, we were searching pretty long for the best way to name the album. Actually, the album thinks a lot about how to improve society and what is going wrong in the world or with our way of living as humans. Either in our relationship to nature and to animals, but also from human to human. And so we try to find a title that describes the think of let's change something and the current situation. It wasn't that easy, but I guess we found something in the direction.
And until now, the lyrics have been prevalently in German. Will this also be the case with In Deep Waters?
In Deep Waters is mixed. So I have some personal themes on it, which I wrote in my mother tongue here in German, because it felt strange for me to write a very personal theme in a foreign language. But the messages that were more global are most in English, and we also have a French song and some words of Italian in one song.
Sounds interesting. What about the music? Can you just briefly describe the music of this new album?
We took the classical side of us even stronger than on the previous albums and combined it with the metal music. So as I'm a classical musician by myself and the composer, it's a bit different than the metal bands that grab something of classical. For us it's the exact opposite way around. We come from the classical side and take the metal with us inside. For me it's like, if you imagine you're a painter and you have different colors to paint. So you have the classical ones that are a bit more sensitive, you have this calmer nuances, and you have the aggression and the power of the metal as other colors. And depending on what I wanted to say in which passage, I grabbed always the sounds that felt like most fitting to what I wanted to express.
Okay, so the music, you made sure that the music reflects the themes that you are talking about, you're singing about.
Oh, it's very, very connected. You often, in some songs, you can really hear what is happening when you really listen to the music and put the lyrics beside it. It's one thing for me. I never do a song without having the idea of what it will be about.
What were the bands and musicians that made you realize it's quite possible for classical and opera to be fused with metal?
At the very beginning I was listening to Therion and to Nightwish when I was like 15 or 16. I thought, oh, this is a good thing to combine. But I had other ideas in mind. I was searching for bands that were doing it the same as I had in my mind, but I didn't find, so I started to write myself.
Okay. In 2012, Molllust released an EP called Bach Con Fuoco. Is Bach your main source of inspiration when it comes to classical music?
Actually, it's more that Bach is the composer of our hometown of Leipzig. Therefore, we took honor to the composer of our city. But it's not that this is my only or my main source of inspiration. Actually, I'm very much in love with Russian composers like Rachmaninoff, because I, for example, had a Russian piano teacher.
Especially since you played the piano here.
Yeah, and so she really told me the love of Russian music.
We're mentioning the piano and singing. Is it hard to simultaneously sing opera and play keyboards?
You should know what you are doing. Then you get used to it. You have to have the vocals clear for you, and you have the piano clear for you, and then it goes together. If you're unsure with one of both, then it's a completely mess.
Okay, as a soprano, were there any singing techniques you had to develop to perform for a metal audience?
Oh, it's not that different to what I'm doing for classical style, but actually I'm always singing like what I feel is the best for the song, so I'm not stick with 100% unique classical technique, but also adapt something a bit when it feels right for me. There is no law that it has to sound like this.
How did your involvement with Haggard come about?
Aziz wrote on their Facebook site that they were searching for new musicians, and I applied, and they listened to our stuff and said, well, this sounds like someone who we could use, and so they invited me, and I jumped in because the other soprano they had before, Sue, couldn't make a date in Turkey, and so I had very few time to prepare, and it went well. And then she told that she would quit the band for forever, and so I just replaced her then, because it already worked well.
And did that experience have any effect on the compositions you wrote for the new Molllust album?
Actually, most of the songs were already written when I jumped in.
So no, in other words.
Yeah.
The majority of classical music and opera seem to involve the interpretation of other composers' music. So would you say that there is an inherent lack of creativity in classical music compared to metal?
I don't think so. There are also a lot of modern classical composers. They are just not as known as Beethoven or Mozart or the older ones. So it's always hard for a new composer, no matter of which genre, to get famous. I mean, not all the world knows Molllust and knows me, and not all the world knows other good metal composers, and so it's the same stuff for classical composers in modern times. It's not that easy to get at first the audience when nobody knows you.
Fair enough. Molllust often use period costumes when performing. How important is the image for the band?
Oh, I'm a kind of a perfectionist. I try to make everything round, and when the optic doesn't fit together, then it's a piece of the performance that doesn't fit somehow. And so we tried to fix this issue, and I went to Leipzig School of Design, which is an academy for custom design, and asked them if it would be a good thing to do a semester's project with the students, because a regular designer we couldn't afford. So I suggested them, okay, we pay the materials and we choose one of your stuff and you sew it as a semester's project, and so we have both something cool out of it. And it worked in a similar way out. The teacher was pretty into it, and he made then the designs, but the students used it for sewing because otherwise it would have been too complicated.
If you see a concert, the visual aspect is important.
Yeah, absolutely. It should all fit together.
We mentioned Haggard earlier on. Would a concept album along the lines of A Pur Si Muove or Tales of Etheria be something you'd be interested in doing with Molllust?
Oh, actually, our first album should be a concept album, but then we redecided because we took some other pieces in and took some out again because we had not that much studio time and we didn't get all the stuff on it.
Okay, so the
idea is there, but for this I feel like more important for the political or social things that were around me to give a statement.
I'm interested also in your views on the way Orphaned Land assimilates Middle Eastern ethnic music with metal. You're currently touring with them, so what do you think?
Oh, I really love it. It's a really cool thing. I mean, they have a similar idea as we have. We adapt our region style to and combine it with metal, and they do the same for their region. So I think it's also a tour that fits pretty well together.
Finally, what do you have planned for the immediate future with Molllust, and for you personally?
We try to find a lot of concerts, of course, and to get our album around, that people get to know us, and let's see how many we are able to reach. We do our very best.
Janika Groß, it was a pleasure speaking to you. Best of luck for the album.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.